Welcome back to The Person Everyone Needs. I am Webb Hoggard, and we are going to talk for the next few weeks on parenting the person that everyone needs. Last week I started by talking about how parents should be dealers of hope with their young people. We're dealing with the most anxious generation in history, they're called, and there isn't a better medicine for anxiety than hope. So continuously tell them that the future is going to be bright because Jesus is already there. Doesn't mean it's not going to be difficult. Doesn't mean we understand what's going to happen up there. What it means is that the definite part that they can hang their hat on knowing that's going to be the case, Jesus will be there and character will still matter. This is one of the things that I try to do in helping them understand that the only good life is the God life. I've had some things like I put a family motto together just to be an encouragement to them, to remind them of their identity. I've said this many times on this podcast, but be strong, be courageous, be wise, be kind, be steadfast is just a reminder again and again to them that these are the qualities that are going to be a part of who they are. Part of being a part of our family is that these are the things that we are. So when we're in difficult times, we're still wise. When we have people who make fun of us, we're still kind. When we want to give up, we're going to be steadfast no matter what. And so it has just given us some guardrails. I'll just remind you of one other thing. Luke 2:52 shows us that Jesus grew up. He grew up just like the rest of us. But there was 4 areas specifically that he worked on. He grew up in stature, he grew up in wisdom, and with favor with God and man. So these are 4 tracks that I encourage. I look for opportunity to help my kids. I help them with their health physically. I help them to grow intellectually, reading books or to expose them to things that would help widen their understanding and perspective on life. And then I want to do all that I can to bless and build their spiritual health by their having favor with God. And then also part of my job is to help them socially, help them figure out how to become better socially. So parent, if you're a parent listening to this, your job is to be their primary educator and discipler, okay? They're watching you. Deuteronomy 6 tells us that we ought to be talking about the things that matter most. We have to be the ones who are talking about the things that really matter at the table, as we're going and coming, as we walk through the door. We ought to be regularly speaking about the things that really do matter. That's on us as parents. In the house, we should be educating about the things that matter the most. You are the primary discipler of your kids. Now, I just need to take a second and remind us, if your kid doesn't understand the ways of the world, the school system didn't fail. The church didn't fail. And I'm not saying that if the results, like if they have bad behaviors, this is your fault. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you haven't taken the time to inform them of what matters, if they don't understand what matters, the primary educator and discipler of a kid is their parents. They need to be taught how to pray, which means that you might have to learn how to pray. They need to see you reading the Bible and really digging into it. They need to see that you believe things, that you are prioritizing church because you need to be around a body of believers. They need to see you sacrificially give. That's how they learn. They watch you. How about being the first person who takes your kid before the Lord? One of the things I said in my message, and this may not be quite the same thing on a podcast, but I said, I'm really tired of people complaining that they took prayer out of church when I'm pretty sure that there's very little prayer going on in our homes. The only good life is the God life, and it's on us to be the teachers. So as primary teachers of our children, I'm concerned that there's too many allowances for other avenues of information to come to our children, and we are not taking as good of an opportunity to do what we can to make sure they understand the things that matter most. They have access to TVs and phones, the internet, and there's so much information out there for them to have that we often don't take the time to really affirm what they need to know the most. Priorities of church, Bible, and prayer. Priorities of what character really is. Character is to be like Jesus. They need to see in their parents there needs to be consistency. There needs to be honesty. There needs to be valuing of each of these people. These kids are not waiting to be real people. They're real people now. And it takes attention and respect to show somebody that you respect them. And so you should show them respect even now. You know what? Parents ought to cultivate their children like their children were garden. You know, you can't have these big romantic moments to fix all of your parenting issues. That it takes a daily watering. It takes in the moments where their hearts are crushed or when they've had bad experience. It takes a diligent watch to pull the weeds out of their heart, to make sure they can continuously grow in the right direction. When we've never had people in our lives that learn how to weed or to water, then no wonder we get overgrown with the things that we didn't want to be in the soil of our hearts. That's why the Word of God in the soil is so powerful, because if we can cultivate good soil and the Word begins to uproot, my goodness, what a powerful future it is for someone that's that way. So cultivate them like a garden. By the way, today, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I'm not, I don't have any kids, now that you're an adult or now that you're able to understand these words, most likely you're going to have to start cultivating your own garden. And if no one else helped you with that, then you may want to seek out a spiritual mentor, a spiritual father or mother to help you with your level of maturity, because all of us have to cultivate. I still have to cultivate the soil of my heart to make sure that other things aren't being rooted and growing there. Let me say another thing before we close today. The job of a parent is to provide basic needs for their child. Now, I often say that for men or for the husband, that is provision, it's protection, and it's projection. It's to lead and direct. But to put it in different terms, this is both parents' job, is to make sure the kids have a place to stay, a shelter, that there's food provided. Yeah, right? So we live in a day today where anything a kid wants, he gets to have. So if you want bad food, you get to have that. And maybe we need to be more careful about we take that job a little more seriously. How about clothes? We are also to be the ones that make sure that they have something to wear. And it's not something that will match culture. It is something that will cover them. I mean, that's what the point of clothes is. But another basic need that I'm very concerned about that maybe we don't pay that much of attention to because we offer shelter, but sometimes we don't provide a place for rest. I remember a few days ago, my sons came home after school. Two of them are crying. One of them is trying to pick a fight with everybody, and my wife was not feeling well. And so I just called for a family-wide nap, which did not make me any friends. Nobody was excited about the opportunity. They were all very upset with me. They told me they weren't tired. Yet all three went straight to their bed and went straight to sleep. So, I mean, at some point, in some way, to me at least, the receipt was there. And they got up and they were so much better. But part of being the parent of this home is I have to show them when they're not being reasonable. Sometimes they just need to take a nap. Be mindful of letting them sleep with their phones at night. Dr. John Deloney says this: if you love your children, you will be relentless about their sleep. Sleep for kids and teens impacts their depression, anxiety, ADHD, and other mental health challenges. Obesity, cognitive and language development, emotional health, and on and on. Sleep is more important than travel sports, endless lessons and recitals, and dumb activities you think will prop up their hypothetical college applications. Stop prioritizing the madness and start prioritizing the children's sleep. Part of providing the basic needs your kids need is providing them the sleep that they require. Help them make wise decisions. Help them to eat in such a way. And by the way, drink. I mean, I know that children aren't drinking alcohol or anything like that, but be mindful of the time that they're drinking energy drinks or that much caffeine. Because I heard a child the other day told me, they were like, well, last night I wasn't tired. When it was time for bed, I wasn't tired at all. So I stayed up for a little while, but man, I'm tired today. And I was like, yeah, you stole from today last night when you weren't feeling tired. and you need to begin to discipline yourself so that you don't, ruin the next day. But through that, this is just simple wisdom stuff. All of us know that. Some of you right now are listening to this and you're tired. You're tired of hearing me talk. I get it. But the idea behind this is that one of the basic needs that parents need to provide is sleep. And one of the very big concerns that I have is that we are often trusting our children way too much to be able to discern things that they should be listening to and things they ought to be believing and things that they ought not when they're watching these things on these screens. And so be careful, be engaged on what it is that they're watching and looking at. Pay attention to those things. So I think it's very important for us to do that so that we can help them prioritize their sleep, to get rid of a lot of these emotional instabilities so that they can be ready and more lucid every single day for learning, for understanding, and for growing to becoming the person that everyone needs.